Hello, I'm Michelle Anderson, founder of Clarinet Mentors. Thanks for watching today's video, which is designed to give you some tools to help you work out those challenging pieces of your music where your fingers just don't quite keep up with the music that's written. That's really common, and there's a lot of different practice strategies you can use. Today's strategy I really like. I use it myself, and I've been using it with my students for years. I call it the working backwards with your fingers technique. So I'll explain that as we go along, but it's just a practice tool I encourage you to try. And if you can think of any music you're working on that has a spot where the fingering is really challenging, this might be the system that will help you learn it more quickly. There is a printout to go with today's video, and I encourage you to take a look at it, either on your computer screen or to actually print it out. And what I'm showing you will make more sense if you can see it. So there's a link to the PDF in the description right below this video here on YouTube, or if you are watching this through the Clarinet Mentors newsletter that comes out every 2 weeks, there's a link right in today's newsletter as well. The excerpt of music that I've chosen to use in the handout is a couple of bars from the Brahms Clarinet Sonata No. 1. Brahms wrote two beautiful sonatas for clarinet. They're very fun to play. They're quite advanced, and they're always more challenging to play than I expect when I'm working on them. So I thought this was a good little section to try. If you're a more advanced player, you may have already worked on this piece. If you're a more beginning player, this might look really intimidating, but I actually encourage you to try this excerpt exactly as it's written. And it might be a model to show you that you can play a little bit of a very challenging piece relatively easily if you follow this system. So if you take a look at the handout, the very first line has 4 bars of music, and that's right out of the sonata. So let's pretend like I was working on this piece. And in the third measure, the one that has all the 16th notes in the group of 5, I just found my fingers couldn't keep up with it. Here's one system I might use for practicing it. So I would take a look at the last note in the line, which is my F. It's the dotted half note with the dot. And the working backwards technique has us looking at the note right before it. So in this case, the note right before it is a D. And what I'm going to do is just practice those 2 notes quickly and easily. In my body, I'm going to focus on being very, very relaxed. It's important psychologically that we're considering this to be an easy exercise, because part of what happens, and I'm sure you can identify with this, you're playing along on a piece, everything's going great, and then you see that dreaded hard spot coming up. And somewhere in our brain we have red alert, hard spot, you're going to fail, it's awful, and all these thoughts sort of come into our brain. And that really does lead us to derail a little bit. So we're going to work physically on physical fingerings, but also kind of on some mental stuff in this exercise. So I'm just going to look at those 2 notes and think, well, D to F, that's pretty easy. I can probably do that. And most of you probably can do that quite easily. So I almost treat it like a grace note. And I would play it as silly as it seems. Even though the first time it was easy, I would do that about 5 times. And the reason I would repeat it is just to kind of notice how easy it is. And this is the psychological part. I want my fingers to stay close to the keys and to be very relaxed. Boom, boom, so that my fingers feel like it's easy too. After I've done that, as long as it takes till it feels easy and that I've done it 5 or 6 times really easily, then I go backwards another note. So if you look on the handout, there's a bar that says bar 1, and that takes us back a couple notes. So we have the A to the D to the F, and I'm going to play those 3 notes. And you might start a little slowly, but the idea is to build speed on them, again with relaxed fingers, and in my head I'm thinking, this is easy, and eventually it will be. And I go, okay, that one wasn't so easy. So you make whatever adjustments you need. That A to D is tricky, so I might rearrange my top finger a little bit. Oh, that was much better. And when I feel like it's better, I'll do it a few more times. And so on. You get the idea. Then I go backwards another note. So if we look at the measure that's marked with a number 2, we go back to the F. Now at this point, I'm going to add a variation to it. As we go backwards and add more notes into the run that we're working on, we're going to think of it in different rhythmic patterns. So in bar 1 there, when I had the 2 notes, I was thinking do-do-da, do-do-da, so kind of like a beat divided in 2 and my landing note. Now I'm going to think of it as a triplet, do-do-do-da, and thinking of it in different rhythmic pulses with the pulse falling in different spots is actually a separate practice technique that really helps us get things into our fingers. So we'll make use of that now. So I'm going to be thinking triplet landing note, triplet landing note. And again, I'm also, once I have that rhythm established, I'm trying to think it's easy. And I would do that eventually till it almost feels like grace notes. Till it feels really easy. Then I go to our example number 3, where I back up another note starting on the D. Now I'm going to switch the rhythmic pattern in my brain to 4 16th notes. Ya da 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 da. So slightly changing how I'm thinking of it. And again, I might start slowly. And then a little faster. And I would keep repeating it till I feel pretty confident and pretty easy. So I think you get the idea here. I don't think I need to demonstrate every single bar. When I go to bar 4, I add another note. And now I'm going to change my rhythm kind of back to triplets. Da 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 da, even though I've kind of got an extra triplet left at the end there. And then when I go to bar 5, I might stay in triplets. But then when I go to bar 6, I'm back in 16th notes. Now, of course, the original part has a group of 5 at the end. So by changing the notes around, I'm not exactly doing it as a group of 5, but what I find is we work backwards one note at a time. It tricks our brain into thinking it's easy because we've already mastered something and then we're just adding one note in. It doesn't seem that hard to just add one note. So by the time I get to about measure 8, I could continue working my way backwards. I didn't write out the entire piece because again, by that point you might either have it mastered or you could on your own keep going backwards until you're at the very top of that run. By the time I get through all of this, then I just go back and try and play it as written, and I'm amazed at how much easier it feels. That's usually where I can then play it, and subconsciously I've already taught myself that it's easy, and it feels much, much easier. So one of my favorite little finger technique systems, I invite you to try it, and I love hearing from you. There's a comments box right under this video, so please put your comments in. And my challenge to you is use this week. Find a spot in your music that's hard for you, and I want to hear how it goes. I would love to see like 50 comments in this box this week on how this system works for you. I've used it with many of my students, and it's one of their favorites now too because it works so well. So thank you for watching today's video. If you've enjoyed it and you're not a member of the Clarinet Mentors community, it's totally free to join. You can go to www.learnclarinetnow.com and it'll ask you to enter your name and email address. Once you're a member of the community, you get a newsletter from me every 2 weeks that has some of my favorite clarinet tips and pointers, like today's video, and some other clarinet news and recommendations. So I invite you to join in. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.